Around 1200 BC, the ancient world ended. Not one civilization, not two. Every major civilization on Earth, simultaneously, collapsed within 50 years of each other. The Mycenaean Greeks vanished. The Hittite Empire, one of the most powerful states in the ancient world, disintegrated almost overnight. Egypt survived but was crippled. Dozens of cities across the eastern Mediterranean were burned to the ground and never rebuilt. Trade networks that had operated for centuries went silent. Writing systems disappeared. Populations scattered. A dark age descended that would last 400 years. We still don't fully understand what caused it. To understand the scale of this collapse, you have to understand what the Bronze Age world looked like just before it fell. By 1250 BC, the eastern Mediterranean was home to a sophisticated, interconnected network of civilizations trading with each other across vast distances. The Mycenaean Greeks exported pottery and olive oil. The Hittites controlled Anatolia and much of the Middle East. Egypt under Ramesses II was at the height of its power. Cyprus dominated copper production. The city of Ugarit on the Syrian coast was a cosmopolitan trading hub where merchants from a dozen different cultures lived and worked side by side. These civilizations weren't isolated. They were deeply interdependent, a Bronze Age version of globalization, where the collapse of one node could send shockwaves through the entire system. And then, within 50 years, almost all of it was gone. The archaeological evidence is stark. Destruction layers, thick bands of ash and burned material, appear at site after site across the region, all dating to the same narrow window between 1200 and 1150 BC. The city of Ugarit was burned so completely that it was never resettled. Excavators found a batch of clay tablets in a kiln, letters that were being fired when the city was destroyed. One of them, written by the king of Ugarit to a neighboring ruler, reads as a desperate plea for help against attackers arriving by sea. The letter was never sent. The city was already falling. At Mycenae, the great palace complexes that had dominated Greece for centuries were burned and abandoned. The Linear B writing system, the administrative language of the Mycenaean world, disappeared entirely. When writing re-emerged in Greece 4 centuries later, it was a completely different system, borrowed from the Phoenicians. Egyptian records from the reign of Ramesses III describe a terrifying confederation of invaders arriving by land and sea, groups the Egyptians called the Sea Peoples. Egypt repelled them, barely, in a massive battle around 1175 BC. But the records describe these groups destroying everything in their path before reaching Egypt. Who were the Sea Peoples? That question has puzzled historians for over a century. They may have been displaced populations from collapsed Aegean civilizations, refugees turned raiders, driven from their homelands by whatever catastrophe was already unfolding and now desperately seeking new territory. Or they may have been a cause of the collapse rather than a symptom. The debate continues. The honest answer is that no single cause has ever been proven. The leading theories include prolonged drought. Climate data from the period does suggest a significant dry spell across the region. Earthquake storms. Some sites show earthquake damage alongside fire destruction. Internal rebellions. Some researchers argue the palace economies of the Bronze Age were exploitative enough to generate violent uprisings, and systems collapse. The idea that the interconnected nature of Bronze Age civilization made it catastrophically fragile, so that when multiple stresses hit simultaneously, the whole network unraveled at once. Most modern researchers believe the answer is all of the above. A perfect storm of drought, invasion, internal unrest, and economic collapse, hitting an overextended and deeply interdependent system simultaneously. The Bronze Age collapse is the closest thing history has to an apocalypse. A world of sophisticated, interconnected civilizations, wiped away in a generation. 4 centuries of darkness before anything like it emerged again. It's a story that feels uncomfortably relevant. Complex interdependent systems, climate stress, mass migration, political instability. The sudden realization that the structures holding civilization together are more fragile than anyone wanted to believe. The Bronze Age world didn't think it could collapse either. Subscribe for a new ancient mystery every week.